Welcome to the Blindside Podcast number 3. My name is DK, and I'm here with the commissioner of BSC, Johnny. How you doing today, bro?
I'm doing perfect, DK. How are you doing on this Saturday evening?
Man, I'm doing great, man. I'm just ready to get into this. I'm pretty excited for what we're about to reveal to everybody.
Absolutely, I can agree with you there.
Today, we're going to be doing our 2-minute drill to open things up. We're going to have a feature on contender or pretender for the BSD League. And then we're going to give our final take on something that Maddie can add to the game. But before I get into that, I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, Madden Football Radio. You can follow them on Twitter at BRM Podcast. And then you can follow them on YouTube at BRM Gaming and Podcast. Also want to give a special thanks to Cortez Logan. His Twitter is IXHeartlessXI. And you can follow him on Twitter. He does graphics, logos, videos, mag covers, overlays, whatever you need, he can do it. He's definitely been a huge help to us in getting us prepared for Madden 18. Now, we're going to hit this quick 2-minute drill up real quick. Are you ready for this 2-minute drill?
Oh, I'm as ready as I'm going to be.
All right, let me start the clock and go. The most underrated team in BSD.
All right, DK, I'm going to go with, let's see here, the Minnesota Vikings. They have a dismal 82 overall roster, and this coach solely survives off his coaching talents and play calling. I wouldn't even consider this team's roster to be subpar. The coach's players are placed and how they're used to their strengths definitely speaks volumes, posting an 8-3 record in a tough division.
All right, the best team in the NFC.
DK, that's a tough question, because I could literally name about 6 of them off the top of my head coming out of the AFC. If I had to pick just one, I simply couldn't. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick 2 of them. And that's going to be our Cardinals and our Rams coaches. Everybody listening to this podcast can agree that the rivalry, unlike any other in the entire league.
All right, the best team in the AFC.
The best team in the AFC, I'm going to give to the Kansas City Chiefs. They have the best team on paper in the entire league by far, manning an insane 98 overall team. Team is stacked in every position. GM skills are second to none, which is proved by taking a look at this coach's team-building talents based on the roster. This is a Chiefs team that's built and poised to make another run at the second Super Bowl victory, in my opinion.
And who is the toughest opponent you played so far in BSD?
I'm going to say the Dolphins. The team's got all the talent in all the right places, from O-line to secondary. Coach will shred you in the ground game as well as through the air if you allow him. Not to mention his rather large target on his back, being the most recent Super Bowl winner.
And that is it for the 2-minute drill. I had one more question for you, but our 2 minutes are up, and we got to stay on par with this 2-minute thing.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so next up, we're going to go to contender or pretender. We're going to go over the top teams in each division in the AFC and the NFC. And if there's a tie in the top, we will discuss both teams. So we're going to start off with the AFC East. What is your take on the Pats being a contender or pretender?
I'm going to say that the Pats, I'm going to go with pretender. And I'm going to tell you why. I don't see the Pats coming out on top when they have to go through a very stout Dolphins team. I guess only time will truly tell. The Patriots team is well improved over the seasons coaching-wise, but I don't think they have what it takes to come out on top of the division. If in the case that they can get through the Dolphins, though, I think this team can beat any team in the league given the opportunity. I feel the same way about our next 2 teams. I think both the Ravens and the Bengals can beat any team as well. What are your thoughts?
So for the AFC North, I have the Bengals at the top, and I have them as a contender. They are 8-3, and they have quality wins. Will be against the Jags that they beat a couple of weeks ago. They're undefeated in division with a 3-0 record, so therefore they already have the jump on everybody else in the AFC North. On offense, they're 2nd in points, 5th in total yards, 9th in passing, and 7th in rushing. And on defense, they're 8th in points, 17th in yards, 22nd in passing, and 8th in rushing. With that being said, they have a real solid offense. They're going to be able to score with any team. Just the pass defense is definitely going to have to step it up if they want to make it to their first Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. I know that's your team over there.
Yeah, that's not. We'll talk about that another time.
Well, the final stretch for the Bengals, they have playing against the Rams, the Browns, the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Cardinals. And 2 of those teams are in the NFC West, which is probably one of the best teams, the best divisions in the whole BSD. So I can see them doing 3 and 2 or better on this final stretch. Now, moving on, we're going to talk about the AFC South. And who do you have? as a
Um,
contender pretender?
I've got the Jags. I think the Jags are definitely a contender. Um, with a 3-game lead on the closest divisional team, I can only see this team going deep in the FC bracket. Contending with none other than our next team coming out of the West, which is the daunting Kansas City Chiefs. Take on the Chiefs, DK.
So the Kansas City Chiefs, I have them as a contender. They're 9-2. I want to say they won a Super Bowl maybe 2 or 3 seasons ago. Am I correct on that?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, so they have quality wins against the Vikings and against the Jags. They're also undefeated in division at 5-0, so they're pretty much a surefire to make it into the playoffs and probably have a first round bye. On offense, they are ninth in points, 17th in yards, 14th in passing, and 19th in rushing. On defense, they're 7th in points, 10th in yards, 8th in passing, and 15th in rushing. So they're pretty much middle of the way, but they always find a way to win whenever the game is close. They have a really strong user over there. Their final stretch, they're going to play against the Chargers, the Lions, the Jets, the Bills, and the Dolphins. I think they can go undefeated on the final stretch, but I'll say that the Lions and the Bills and the Dolphins are going to be a tough thing for them to have. Now going over to the NFC, I will kick it off with the NFC East with the Giants. I have them as 6-5, and I have them as a contender with an asterisk next to it. They have a very favorable schedule. They haven't had too many quality wins, and with having that favorable schedule, I think they're gonna be able to make it into the playoffs as a division winner. They are 2-1 in the division. On offense, they are 12th in points, 4th in yards, 10th in passing, 4th in rushing. On defense, they are 15th in points, 13th in yards, 9th in passing, 20th in rushing. And their final stretch run in their last 5 games would be the Redskins, Bears, Rams, Cowboys, and Redskins. I think they can probably go 4-1 or 3-2. You can never count the Bears out. They haven't won a game all year, but they've won many games, many divisions as far as the NFC North goes. So you can never count them out. And this Giants team is excellent overall. They have a lot of quality players, so you can never count them out. Now moving on to the NFC North, who you got up top with the Vikings? You have them as a contender or pretender?
I have the Vikings. Um, I'm gonna call them a contender. As stated earlier in the podcast, you just simply can't count out the Vikings coming out of the NFC East. However, the Vikings won't have their work cut out for them if the Giants so happen to make it into the playoffs. Not to mention the Rams or the Cardinals are all in his way, being in the same division. Next on the list is the Falcons from the South. What are your thoughts on the feisty Falcons, DK?
Well, after the Falcons taking their tough loss to the Vikings today, they are tied with the Bucks at 6-5 in the division. So I'm gonna talk about both of them a little bit. I have the Falcons as a pretender and the Bucks as a contender. Now, the reason why I have the Bucks as the contender because they have the easier schedule leading for the rest of the year. The Bucks schedule is 23-32, and they're 3-1 in the division, while the Falcons are 32-23, and they're 3-2 in the division. So the Bucks have an easier road to make it into the playoffs to win in this division. The Falcons' rest of the schedule is the Lions, Packers, 49ers, Titans, and Saints. And the Bucks play the Saints, Panthers, Colts, Lions, and Jaguars. The Bucks turned this whole season around, and they have been 4-1 in the last 5 weeks, while the Falcons started very strong at 5-0, now 1-5 in the last 6 games. Now we're going to take it over to the NFC West, I suppose, and go ahead and tell me about that beast of a division.
Oh man, where do I start? Like I said earlier, man, the Cards and Rams have the biggest rivalry in all of BSD. They are constantly back and forth. If one's not there, the other one's there. If one doesn't show up in the playoffs as a divisional winner, the other one's going to show up as a wild card contender. So I'm going to go Cards out of the West. And it goes without saying that the Cardinals are without a doubt a contender. As I previously stated, you can never count the Cardinals out in any season when it comes to being a top-notch contender in BSD.
Yeah, that's a heck of a division over there. Now, with all this contender and pretender being said, who comes out the AFC and who comes out the NFC?
That's a tough one. It's always going to be a battle between the Rams and the Cards coming out of the NFC. In the AFC, I wouldn't be surprised I wouldn't be surprised at all to see the Dolphins come out and play the Rams in what needs to be a redemption game for the Rams, seeing as he got blown out last season in the Super Bowl. So I would have to say that that would be the favorable matchup that I would like to see.
For me in the AFC, I think I'm gonna ride with the Bengals. I think might just be the year that they can finally make it to the Super Bowl. I think the AFC is the easiest way to get to the Super Bowl compared to the NFC, especially when you have three teams in the NFC with 5 or 6 losses in the NFC West, excuse me, with 5 or 6 losses. So three of their teams are going to make it in, and I think they're going to be facing off against the Cardinals. And on offense, the Cardinals are top three in basically everything, and on defense the same. Top three in rushing, passing yards, and points. So I think the Cardinals are definitely on their way to making it. With that being said, we're going to go into our final take, and our final take today will be, Johnny, what do you feel Madden can add to the game for the future?
All right. I want to keep it short and sweet. There's definitely many things that I'd love to see change for Madden 18. However, the most important thing to me, I'm gonna say this one is I like to see the transaction show exactly what a commissioner has edited when he edits a player. I've heard in many leagues about commissioners doing I shouldn't say only players, but also settings, because I've heard of commissioners going into the settings and boosting up the XP to, like, let's say 300. Then they'll go back, they'll go ahead and they'll do their game prep, and then they'll boost it back down, which you can catch that if you're like really have the time and you want to do it. You can catch people doing that. But also for players, like everybody's like, okay, well, you can stream and you can do it that way, but no one really knows what you did prior to you cutting your stream on. You know what I'm saying? I've been in a couple leagues this Madden that it's happened to, and I've caught them because obviously I'm a commissioner and I know what to look for. So when they do stuff like that, I'm able to go in and be like, okay, I can clearly tell when you're doing stuff you're not supposed to be doing. I'll call them out, and then I'll either 9 times out of 10 they'll kick me out of the league for calling them out, or I'll just leave because I don't want to be a part of anything that's going to be dishonest. I'm not a fan of dishonesty.
All right, I like that. We do need a transcript list that shows us everything, not just something's been edited, but we need to be able to see everything. So I totally agree with you there, Johnny. All right, now moving on. For me, I think my final take is going to be on practice squad full games in the CFM. I think this is very important. I don't like the fact that my practice squad, when I do practicing on CFM, that I can only do basically scripted plays, or I can put them on random plays. But I want to be able to play a full game to test out my full team, especially whenever I'm bringing in free agents and I'm drafting, and I want to see how they're going to play. And with BSC, we don't do the preseason; we go straight into the season. So that would be a great way for us to be able to get a feel for what our team has to offer. So with that being said, thank you guys for joining in and listening to us on the Blindside Podcast number 3. I'm so thankful for my special guest, Johnny. Thank you for coming on today.
Absolutely, man. Anytime, you know it.
Is there anything else you want to say before we cut this short?
Like you said earlier, the Madden Football Radio podcast, you guys, I would love to see you guys get a little bit more active in that. They go live from Friday to Saturday, and they're usually a little late night, but they cover all CFM. They're not a mutt podcast. You never hear them talking about mutt. Excuse me. Also, our team Twitters for next Madden. Once we do team select, we're gonna need to switch all those over. So just be prepared for that. We just knock it out, get it over with. But we're gonna be unveiling a lot of stuff that you guys just have no idea, like what's coming. So I want it to be a surprise. So I don't want to really disclose too much information on the podcast. I just kind of want to drop it and then hear your guys' thoughts after we drop it.
Yeah, he's definitely right. We got a lot of amazing things coming. We've been getting things together, and I think patience is a virtue, and we've totally taking care of this virtue, and we're going to be shooting for the stars come Madden 18. This is just the beginning of what me and Johnny are going to be doing. We're going to do our best to do a weekly podcast for you guys. Whenever the new Madden 18 drops and the first update comes in, we're going to have something very special for you. So y'all make sure y'all stay on top of your games. Make sure you're getting your Twitter set up and ready to go once Madden 18 drops, and we're going to have a blast. It's going to be Blindside for life all the way. With that being said, I'm DK, and that's Johnny. He's the Commission BSD. Thank you guys for listening to us, and we will see you guys next time.